managed to get the one and only Mr. Richard Anthony. Please show him some love.
Hey guys, how you doing?
There we go. It's great to have you on. I don't know how many people we're going to have jump on the live.
I don't care. I don't care. You can record it and play it later. It doesn't bother me.
Exactly. So first things first. You know, we've had a couple of weeks of trying to get you on. We've had a couple of technical issues.
Wait a minute. How many technical issues?
I must admit, you are the number one for technical issues that we've had so far in 2 years. So there is a trophy for that. So tell us about what happened tonight, because that's a great story.
I was out with Justin Trance, my good buddy here from Las Vegas. A lot of you people might know who he is.
I've heard of him. Anyway,
we were out gallivanting around, and actually it took me, I had to get my birthday is tomorrow. So it's time for my yearly checkup. So I had to go get blood drawn. So Justin and I drove up to the VA clinic and had my blood drawn. And then we were out buzzing around, and he dropped me off at right around noon, maybe 10 past noon. I walked in the house ready to do this with Grant. And 10 minutes later, I think he hexed me because the entire power went out in the apartment building. And it didn't come back on until way after 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I think he might have unplugged it from outside.
Yeah. He was probably out fooling around with the box outside, you know.
Yeah. Justin is a guest that we are hoping to get on at some point. We have been talking to him, but he's a great guy. So, Richard, whilst we've got you on, tell us about your first experience with hypnosis. How did you first learn about it? What was your first exposure to hypnosis?
Well, my very first exposure was obviously on American television. You know, I saw it on Saturday morning. We used to have a thing here called the Howdy Doody Show. Okay. And there were like four main characters in it. It was a kiddie show. Okay. I was only, I think, about 8 years old, somewhere around there. Anyway, make a long story short, they had this a girl who used to come in Indian headdress and Indian stuff like that. Her name was Princess Summer, Fall, Winter, Spring. How's that? And she, the bad guy had put a hex on the main guy, whose name was Buffalo Bob. So she told him that she could fix it, and she hypnotized him. She actually ran pretty close to a real induction on it. Wow. Anyway, I was fascinated. Okay. So now I get really hooked on hypnosis. Now, once again, then later, before we have the biggest Tonight Show was one of the biggest nighttime TV things here. And it starred a guy named Johnny Carson. But before Johnny Carson, there was a guy named Jack Parr. He had not Marilyn Monroe, Jane Mansfield on. Jane Mansfield was his guest one night. And he also had a hypnotist on. And the hypnotist hypnotized Jane Mansfield, who was this blonde bombshell. And Grant, I hate to tell you, but that convinced me that I wanted to be a hypnotist.
Yeah, I think it's interesting at how many guys are drawn to hypnosis when they see a hypnotist hypnotize a pretty girl.
Well, yeah, but you know, it doesn't quite work like that. But now I'm going to tell you, this is really a hilarious story, and it's 100% true. I come from my father was old school Italian, okay? His mother had come from Italy, his father had come from Italy, etc. Anyway, he decided finally to tell me about sex when I was 16.
Wow.
A little bit late. Not that I had gotten laid yet, I hadn't, okay? But a little bit late because you hear everything in the locker room in high school anyway, okay? Where did he decide to do this? I was in the bathroom, in the bathtub taking a bath. We didn't have a shower back in those days. We had a bathtub. I'm old, in case anybody wants to know. Tomorrow is my 74th birthday.
Wow.
Anyway, so I'm sitting in the bathtub, comes in, and here's his opening line. How much do you know? I'm like, how much do I know about what? And he was almost embarrassed. He was like, how much do you know about sex? I was like, well, you know, I've heard a lot, blah, blah, blah. But he wants to tell me, you know, so he goes, well, okay. So you know what happens and how a man and woman get together to make a baby, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Dad, I know that. He said, well, do you actually have any questions about anything? I figure I got to ask him something, right? I go, what does 69 mean? He turned bright pink because I don't think he would have ever done it if you would have held a gun to his head. He was a straight missionary, boom, boom, boom guy, okay? But I give him credit. He did explain it to me. But then here's where he jinxed me. He goes, well, okay, I guess I should let you finish, but I just wanted to tell you, I hope you didn't inherit my disease. I'm like, what disease? He's like, I have an incurable disease called premature ejaculation. I can't last any longer than 3 or 4 seconds inside of your mother. I'm like, oh, nice of you to tell me that, Dad. You know, not really something I wanted to know about, but okay. Now, I go into the United States Air Force. As you can see, I'm a veteran. Okay. I still haven't gotten laid yet, and I'm like 19 years old when I went in. Not that I didn't try, I just got caught every place I tried to do it. It was really ridiculous. Those are another 5 funny stories, but I'll save that later. Let me finish this one. So I go in the service, and one night this girl decides that she wants to bring me back home. I go back home with her, and I had my first sexual encounter. How long did I last? 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I've got the disease. Okay. Now, I waited like 3 months before I tried it again. Still, maybe 7 seconds this time. Oh, fuck. I know I got the disease. I know I got it now. Fast forward. I get stationed in Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay. And I go to see this female hypnotist named Ginger Corte. Okay. I'd also seen Pat Collins a couple of months before that, but yeah. I go to see Ginger. And Ginger is like this 5'10", 37 D cup, blonde, Zoftic, fucking awesome looking lady. So I decided I wanted to try hypnosis for real. I got up on the stage and I did her show. Okay. Her manager came after the show back to me and says, Ginger would like to see you backstage. I'm like, what the fuck did I do wrong? Was I crazy on stage? I don't know. You know, I had no idea. So I go back, and she's at the Tropicana Hotel, you know, with a nice dressing room, and it's all stocked with booze and the whole thing. And there's a baby grand piano in the corner. I mean, this is a huge dressing room. So I sit on the couch with her, and I'm having a drink, and she says, you want to go out with? And I got a couple of places I have to stop because in those days you got introduced, etc. So I went with her. Needless to say, I ended up back at her hotel room, suite actually. And she goes, well, are you going to get undressed? Because I am. And I'm like, I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and I go, I can't be with you. I have a disease. And she looks at me, and she knows I'm in the Air Force, and she figures I must have, you know, gonorrhea, what we call the clap over here and stuff like that. or maybe even worse, maybe I got syphilis or caught a, because it was during the Vietnam War. She didn't know whether I'd been there yet or not. Anyway, she said, why don't you go to the hospital at the Air Force Base and get a shot and get cured? I'm like, my disease is incurable. And I'm really upset. I'm really upset. And she goes, tell me what disease you have. And I go, I've got premature ejaculation. And I'm almost crying, man. Honest to God, I'm almost crying. And she goes, we're going to fix that tonight.
Nice.
So she hypnotized me, okay, took me to bed and wouldn't let 30, 40 minutes later, after she'd already climaxed twice, she let me climax. And I went, home run. I'm in. She cured the disease.
Brilliant.
So after that, I don't know if I told you, my mother was actually an English teacher in Massachusetts, and she taught us how to read. And when I was about 4 years old, how to start writing stuff and everything else. By the time I hit the first grade, I got the first grade was ridiculous to me. I already knew everything. Anyway, make a long story short, I turned out to be a fairly decent writer. I actually wrote my senior theme in high school was based on the American Indians and how they'd been screwed over and that type of thing. And there was a publication here for many years called Reader's Digest. It was like this monthly magazine. She submitted it to Reader's Digest, and they bought it.
Wow.
Now bear in mind what year this was. 1965. They paid me $350 for that article. Okay, and they published it, and I was like, "Whoa." Okay. So anyway, and I got a pretty good sense of humor, as you can tell. Anyway, I'm sitting there with Ginger, and I had seen her show, and I went, I could write you a lot better show than that. And she's like, okay, go ahead. It took me exactly 3 days. I gave it to her, and she was like, holy fuck. So then I'm going with her. I actually end up going with her, and I'm due to get out of the Air Force in 2 months. So she was at the Tropicana for another 3 weeks. She had a 4-week engagement. And then she went back to LA, and she flew back one weekend, and we spent the weekend together. And then when I got out, she goes, considering what you wrote and how good you are knowing about hypnosis and stuff, I think we should do a show together. Could you write a double show? I'm like, sure. She said, well, I'm due to come back to the Tropicana in 6 weeks. She said, I want you on stage with me. My very first gig was at the Tropicana Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow.
So, I mean, all of these people who have tried to go through and, build up their career to get into the majors and stuff like that. Here I am, spoiled brat. Okay. I'm not even 21 yet. I'm still like 3 months away from 21, and I'm headlining with her at the Tropicana in a 600-seat show.
Nice.
So then I just moved in with her. I left and went to Los Angeles, moved in with her, and we were playing the Playboy Clubs, and we were playing all different kinds of places all over the country, So then we would go to Vegas like once every in those days. It's not like today. See, like me and Justin played here week after week after week after week. That's the new way they do it. In those days, what you did was you played Vegas for 2 or 4 weeks. 2 if you were new, and then if you did good, they'd hire you back for 4 weeks. Yeah. Then you went to Reno, Nevada, and played 2 or 4 weeks up there. And then you went to Lake Tahoe and played 2 or 4 weeks up there. And then the rest of the time you had to fill in with your own gigs. You could do that twice a year. Okay? So I went with Ginger Corte for 14 years. We lived together. We did the shows together. it's where I really, I will tell you that she was responsible for my stage presence and teaching me all about the stage and stuff like that. Where to stand, how to do this, how to do that. And she was a marvelous, marvelous teacher, on top of being marvelous in bed. but the other thing that we used to do, we did, now bear in mind, this is like 1970, maybe 1972. We started doing erotic hypnosis at house parties. It was a real no-no. You didn't want to tell any other hypnotist that you were doing this, because in those days that was like, erotic hypnosis, you're an asshole. You're gonna make our reputation killed and blah 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 blah. Now it's so freaking common, it's ridiculous. Okay, I wrote a book. It's called Hypnosis for Lovers, and I do seminars based on that book. And what it is it's basically designed for couples, although I do let single people in if it evens up, because I like them to practice with each other. Yeah. Not have sex in my classroom, but to practice on how to do it and stuff like that. So anyway, I started doing that when it became acceptable, and I started seeing it online. Right when I first I think I got my first computer in 1990. Okay. And in those days, there was this internet relay chat, I believe is IRC was what it stood for. It was, the little thing for it. And there were actually hypnosis rooms in there, and people were hypnotizing over the net. I didn't believe it at first. And then a girl that I met in there, she's since passed away. Her name was Sophoria. She said, listen, you have to think about it this way. If you're watching TV or you're reading a good book, what's the difference if I'm typing, relax, take a nice deep breath over thing, and you're reading it on a screen just like a TV? And I was like, makes sense. So I tried it, and then I learned how to do it, and it went from there. And like I said, eventually I wrote a book on it.
Nice. Yeah. You talk about the erotic shows. I mean, sure, there's been some challenges, some interesting things that happened that maybe shouldn't have happened during those performances. I mean, we talk sometimes about, and we hear about people's chairs being in the wrong position. I think if you're doing an erotic hypnosis show, then surely there's some weird things can really happen. Tell us about some standout moments. I say standout moments.
After I broke up with Ginger, okay, I met my soon-to-be wife, Jeannie, okay? She has a mane of red hair on her that you couldn't even believe. I mean, I could, if you go on, if anybody knows me on Facebook, just go, I still have pictures of her on Facebook in my photos, okay? Anyway, make a long story short, we started doing the show together. I conned her into it because I was doing it with, in between, before meeting her, I was doing it with a girl that turned out to be my future daughter-in-law. But she and my son decided to play house and quit the show on 2 weeks' notice. Yeah. And I have a contract for the whole summer. Well, I had met Jeannie in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, because I used to do, I wrote a show about Star Trek, a hypnosis show. It was called Hypno Trek, and I played it on the Star Trek convention circuit and the whole thing. So I had run into Jeannie and gone gaga over her in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. And I started dating her. And then when she had been on television as a model and had done a little, speaking and stuff like that through her early career. Anyway, so I called her up. I said, I got a real emergency. Can you fill in for 2 weeks while I find somebody to do the show? Well, I never looked for anybody to do the show because I had such a blast with her. But I have to tell you now I'm going to tell you that the story, she almost fucking killed me. Oh, excuse me for doing that. She almost killed me the first night that she appeared, because here we are, we're on stage, and I have this bit where I had her tell a guy, on the count of 3, you have to go to the bathroom so bad you can hardly stand it. Now, we'll have no accidents up here, but on the count of 3, boy, do you have to go. And I had told them before the show, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on things. You know, nothing ever happens. Well, this was our opening night in the summertime, and it was like my 5th summer there. So I got friends in the front and the audience and the whole thing. And one of my friends distracted me while she was doing this. And out of the corner of my ear, I hear, Richard. Here's this guy. He had stood up, unzipped his fly, turned around, and he was going to pee on my curtain, my backdrop. Okay. I zoomed over to the stage and said, freeze, you do not have to go that bad. He kind of whispered to me, yes, I do. I was like, oh, shit. So I said, I'll tell you what. There's a bathroom right outside the door. I don't know if you know where it is, but it's right outside the door on the right-hand side. You can go. You'll find that you can function quite easily, and you can come back to the stage when you're done. I did not know he had his dick out. Okay. He turns around. And the audience is just fucking falling out. I mean, just falling out. Okay. So what am I going to do? I said, before you go, put that big thing away. So he zips his pants up and he goes and he comes back and the whole thing, and he's whatever. Well, after the show, my future wife, ex-wife now, but it's a future wife, we're still great friends. Anyway, she comes backstage and she goes, what? You told me nothing would ever happen. And I'll tell you, and I mean, there were funny things that happened. Because you're doing a double show, there are funny things that happen. There's another bit that she does where a guy has to go through a force field to get her, and he's in love with her, okay? And he can give her a kiss, but what she usually does is just as he's going to kiss her or hug her, she goes sleep and she makes him sleep on her arm.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I get him to find a crack in the force field and pull it all the way down to the floor. And then my line is, okay, you can have her. And she's supposed to go sleep. This guy runs over, picks her up in his arms like this, and runs down the stairs with her. The showroom is on the 2nd floor. He's carrying it down the stairs. So I said, hold on, folks, I'll be back. And I catch him down on the landing, sleep. You know, she's not available. She belongs to me. Put her down very gently. So yeah, I've had all kinds of shit like that. I mean, I've had people. I've had girls take their bras. You know, it's the summer. It's like they were half of the time they came to the shows in shorts and bikinis. You know, bikini tops. So I've had girls dump the bikini tops, not by me even saying it. I had to be very careful. You know, the old bit, it's a test bit. It's like, on the count of 3, it's so hot in this room, you can hardly stand it. Wrong thing to do when somebody's in the beach resort and they just got a bikini top on.
Yeah.
I had another bit that I used to do where, I make the guys think that they were Chippendales dancers. And this guy pulls, once again, we're at the beach resort. He pulls down his shorts and starts wingling his ass in front of this girl he didn't even know. And she's like, ah! So yeah, I've had some funny fucking shit happen.
Yeah.
Funny shit.
How was it kind of doing the double show as well? I suppose that lends itself really well to having different skits, like you said, about having the force field and everything else. So it's not just having an assistant on stage. It's a double hypnotist show.
The induction was half and half. Okay, so that they would react to her voice too. So like if you did a 10 to 1 deepener, here's how it would go. I would do 10 and 9. She would do 8 and 7. I would do 6, 5, and she'd do 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, etc.
Brilliant.
They were generally 10 bits in the show plus 6 post-hypnotic bits. 16 altogether.
Yeah.
She did 5. I did 5. And I wrote this, I wrote them based on her and based on me, And basically what we did, this is how it works so well. I designed this show so that I would try to be mean to the girls and she would rescue them.
Yeah.
And then she would try to be mean to my guys, but she wouldn't let me rescue them. And people thought that was hilariously funny. And it was, okay? And she had this, her timing and everything else was absolutely fabulous on stage. And we actually invented, I invented it with Ginger Corte, okay? But we invented the double hypnosis show that got to Vegas,
Nice.
all the way from Boston, where we broke it in, all the way to Vegas.
Nice.
So I've been in Vegas like 6 times in my life, where the last time was, Jeannie and I came to Vegas in 2001, and the Riviera closed, I think, 2010 before they blew it up. So that was a lot. I really have semi-retired from doing shows. Not, I was going to be semi-retired anyway because of COVID.
Well, yeah. I know you did write for people as well. You put skits together for people. Is that right?
I've written 16 different shows.
Wow. How important is it, do you think, for hypnotists nowadays to create that new material?
I changed my show. Now I will tell you this. I kept the base of 4 really great bits that worked for me for years. Okay. But the other 6 and the post-hypnotics, I changed twice a year. Because I get bored doing the same show time after time. Now, basically, I wrote the shows for people who do not have super writing talents. You know what I'm saying? So I would say to somebody like, give me a theme that you like, and I'll write a show around it. Now, there's a girl in England that I wrote a steampunk show for.
Yes.
Okay. There was, unfortunately, she got into very bad, not that girl, but another girl. Lizzie. Okay. Lizzie is what she goes by. She came and took our course here. I sometimes work the course with Justin Trance. Okay.
Yeah.
Co-teach with. Anyway, she came, took the thing, and I wrote a show for her, and she was doing good. And then she got really racked up really bad. Now she's starting to recover. I just got a few messages from her on Facebook, and I'm glad to see that she's okay.
Yeah.
But here in the United States and in Canada, like I said, I have written 16 different shows at 16 different formats. Okay. I wrote Ron Miller, a show totally based on MCU. On all the characters on MCU, okay? I wrote Scott, a show based on Star Trek.
Nice.
Star Wars, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I wrote another guy, a show based on Hollywood. Another girl, a show based on an airplane ride where they stop at different places so you could have different kinds of bits. So all different kinds of things like that. So like if I were writing one for you, I'd say, Grant, what's your favorite thing? Give me a favorite thing. What do you really like? Or what's really popular over there right now? Yeah. Okay. Now, what's really popular right now might not be popular in 6 months, but that's okay. That's my whole thing. It's like, keep it fresh, Call me up. I'll write you 4 more bits, based on what's going on today. Like James Bond. James Bond just got released. I had written a James Bond show, oh my God, years ago I wrote some bits for Pat Collins based on James Bond.
Nice. And I think James Bond as a theme lends itself wonderful to a hypnosis show.
Oh yeah, it does.
Everything in there as well.
Yep.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I was about to ask something then. Yeah, when you talk about writing a fresh show, there was a venue that I did here for, I think it was probably something maybe 5 or 6 years every week during season. And I always tried to change the show up. However, the pre-talk at the beginning was pretty much the same. And I realized after a few years that because people heard the same pre-talk at the beginning, even if it was just the health and safety bits,
Yep.
they thought it was the same show, even though the skits were different. But the beginning, the health and safety bit at the beginning of the show was the same. And so now I try and mix that up as well.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I used to do what I would today consider a long-ass pre-talk. I watched Justin, who, this is kind of, I actually don't even agree with his long thing, because he makes it, he doesn't come out and go, how many of you know what hypnosis is, blah, 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 and then explain all about hypnosis and what's going to happen and what may not happen and how you know, it's not dangerous, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. What he does is he comes out and, you know, he gets the audience going, okay. I looked at that. I looked at what I used to do and I went, fuck it. Oh, Jesus, I keep swearing on you. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm too old to give a shit. How's that? So my whole pre-talk is exactly now a minute and 30 seconds.
Wow.
Because most of the rest of that stuff was superfluous, you know? It's like, how many of you, I come out and I'll ask a question. Excuse me. I almost inhaled my coffee there. I'll come out and I'll ask a question. You all ready to get hypnotized? And you know, you get, you sound like a goddamn Monday night audience. One more time. You all ready to get hypnotized? Yeah, okay, I get them going. I go, actually, that's not a fair question. You already have been hypnotized. All of you, every single one of you. And they look at you like, what? I go, and that's why I just do that. You ever lose miles on the highway, you get lost in a good book or a TV show, okay? Or daydream, self-hypnosis. That's it. You already been under. I'm not going to do anything strange that you don't already know what it feels like. And that's exactly what it feels like. I'm not going to knock you out. You're going to know what's going on. Just like, imagine a daydream, okay? You can hear the cars outside the door or whatever, or you can know what's going on in your house. You're just, you're zoned into a zone. That's it.
Yep.
It's so much fun. And guess what? By the end of my show, I'll leave you with all kinds of sexual energy. Okay, come on up. That's it. That's my pre-talk.
Wow.
Okay?
That's pretty
Now,
cool.
I can't do sexual energy when I'm doing like Disneyland or stuff like that. You know,
It might go down the wrong way.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I do adjust it. But that's my pre-talk in comedy clubs or Vegas or whatever. You know, it's just, I don't.
Yeah.
I figure I have more time to do bits, you know.
I mean, I like the way that Justin kind of, you know, he makes the pre-talk and the induction an entertaining part of the show, which I think it has to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I do the same kind of induction. I do the same kind of inductions he does. And basically, when I get him up on stage, I do the same thing he does. Okay. Which is drop him down to the floor, blah, blah, blah. You still have to earn your seat on my stage.
Yeah.
But I don't go through very much time before I've got volunteers coming to the stage.
Yeah. When you mentioned about putting people on the floor, I'm a fan of it. I do believe people go into a deeper state of hypnosis when they're laid down. I know in America, I know sometimes it's a bit of a controversial point. Some people kind of lose their heads a little bit about laying people on the floor.
Oh, I know. But you know what? First of all, every single one of us that work Vegas, there's a cleaning crew that comes in. Showrooms generally in Vegas are closed by 1 o'clock in the morning. That's when the dance clubs are open and stuff like that. The cleaning crew comes in, and I swear to you, you look at that stage the next day when you walk on that stage, you could eat dinner off of it.
Yeah.
So there's this, you know, what are you worried about if I put somebody on a spotlessly clean floor? Now, here's the other thing. I've worked in clubs that have, you know, comedy clubs. There's rugs on the floor, you know. It's just a riser that's carpeted. Okay, so I tell the guy, listen, I'm going to put people on the floor. Make sure you vacuum this place every night after we're done. And most of them will say, of course we do. You know, we clean the club every night also. So I don't worry about the floor. And I don't worry about other hypnotists that go, put people on the floor. And everyone we've ever taught, Justin and I, put people on the floor normally now. Yeah. You know, it's just, it is because people go deeper because they associate it with bed. You know, you're going to go to sleep. If you're going to go to sleep, are you going to sit here in a chair and try to go to sleep, or are you going to go to bed?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, we do hope to get, like I say, get Justin on at some point in the future. We have spoke a couple of times about that, so I'll leave you as well, Richard, to put a bit of peer pressure on him to come on the show as well, because it'd be great for the guys.
I can tell you he's going to, and I can tell you almost when he's going to agree to it.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, tell us about where you see hypnosis going. And lots of people are TikTok and YouTube. Where do you see the future of stage hypnosis?
Well, I'll tell you. Obviously, the future of it depends on COVID. You know, it's like I saw a girl try to do a hypnosis show online, like we are here, except she's using Zoom, obviously, because you can put 1 million people on Zoom. Didn't work too well, and I think she knew it. You know, that would take, to me, some real thinking about how to present it online.
Yeah,
because normally, like a TV show, you've got actors or people on stage or subjects on stage or whatever. Okay, let me tell you, every real one, like Pat Collins' show, every one of those people that were on stage had been hypnotized before, because you can't afford it. Okay, you know how much it costs to shoot a TV show? You know, you just can't take a stab like, you know, oh yeah, we'll just take a shot at it. No, you can't do that. You have to set it up and know what it is. It's the same thing. You know, I laugh at people who think these reality shows are real. They're not. Yeah. They know who the winner is going in. Before the first show airs, they know who the winner is going to be at the end of the season. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I made that point to make this point. You have to do some real thinking about, okay, you could have 6 people sitting here like this, and you could do some visual stuff with them. But a lot of the action stuff that people do in stage shows, and I know you do, and I do too. Okay. All right. On the count of 3, come up here to the front of the stage, blah, 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 and you do something with it. That's very difficult to do in a situation like this, you know. Number one, because if they stand up, what? Hello, where'd they go?
Great shot, Richard.
Yeah, I know. You're going to be looking at, you know what you're going to be looking at. That's why I did it. It's funny. Anyway, so to do a show like that, it would be, as I said, I don't think it worked out very well for her. You'd probably have to design it so that all of this stuff is, you know, within this frame of your television frame.
Yeah.
You know, because that's your whole thing. It's from here to here, you know, and that's where your comedy has to come in, or your amazement has to come in, or whatever. You know, it's just part of the game.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm not the biggest fan of hypnosis on television. I think when it's physical, when you're in the room, when it's on stage, and the energy of the audience is there, I think it just has such a profound effect on the volunteers, that energy in the room, and you don't get that via Zoom or television.
No, and you know, here's the other thing, Greg. I used to tell people when we did the classes, okay, I see people do promos, okay, and the promos are like 12 minutes long, whatever, you know. 30 minutes long. It's like, let me tell you something. If you can't sell your show in the first 30 seconds, you aren't going to sell it. Okay. Don't make your promos any longer than 3 minutes, and take the best 3 minutes that you have, not out of one show, out of all of your shows.
Yeah.
Blend it together and make the best 3 minutes you got.
Yeah. I always find it interesting when you see a promo and it is all from the same show. If I was a booker, I want to see different shows, different people, different types of people.
You bet. Now, on my YouTube, I have a clip. I have a 9-minute clip from the Riviera, but I'm not trying to sell a show right at the moment. You know, I have in my archives some of my promos that I did use to sell shows, and it was a collage of from Boston, Vegas, Reno, Tahoe, the Playboy Club, all kinds of different places, and they were no more than 3 minutes long.
Yeah. Yeah. People, especially bookers, agents, these are important people, and their time is very important. They're not going to sit and watch, like you said, 12, 20, half an hour.
No, they'll come and see your show after they book you.
Yeah. Yeah. You talk about you do a training with Justin. We always kind of ask people if they would recommend a book or two that would be beneficial for the people watching this. I know you have a few books out yourself, but if you were to recommend 2 books for stage hypnosis, what would those be?
Don't tell anybody. I'm writing one right as we speak.
As if by magic.
So I'm not promoting anybody else's right at the moment because I'm having mine out very shortly. Brilliant. 2022, first part of 2022.
Fantastic. I, for one, would like a signed copy of that when it's out.
You got it.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Because, you know, people, look, Grant, I'm a very practical guy. I am tomorrow 74 years old.
Happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you very much. I have this, I've been doing this since I was 19.
Wow.
So I have an incredible amount of knowledge about how to put together a stage show, how to design a show. If you want to write your own show, if you don't want to write your own show, where to get material, what kind of material, what the actual, where you should start. In other words, the bits in the show, how to organize those bits so that you don't wake people up by trying to do too complicated stuff.
Yeah.
On the first bit, you know, you just can't do it. Oh, well, let's see. Why don't we do a body catalepsy right from the beginning? You know, it's like, no, I don't think so. But not only that, most people, I've seen too many of those dropped. I stopped doing them years and years ago. Yeah. For those of you that don't know what a body catalepsy is, it's when you take a person, make them stiff and rigid, okay, and put them between 2 chairs and then stand on them.
Yeah. It's our industry is so fragile and so easy a target for people to bring lawsuits against.
Oh, yeah.
Injuries and all sorts, both physical and psychological. And it's, you know, you have to take the edges off so much and be so careful, but still try and deliver a funny show.
I think I'm incredibly lucky for the amount of years I've done this. I've never been sued, ever. Okay.
Touch wood.
So, you know, maybe it's just luck. I don't know. But I try not to open myself up for a suit by what I do. Okay. There was, whenever I'm filming a show, which I've done a couple of times, okay, I wanted to film it to send it for possibility of Showtime or HBO or something like that. I always make them sign a release as they're coming in the door. I'm thinking that probably that's where we're going to end up going to, okay? There's going to be, and you could do a video real quick. Let's say you've got a line at the door with people with tickets. Okay. You got a guy who's sitting with a camcorder with, you know, an hour's worth of film or whatever. Okay, you're coming in. Okay, gives the girl a ticket, and you say, okay, I want you to know you could get hypnotized while you're here, and we are not going to take any responsibility for what you might do or say on stage. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
They say yes, fine. If they say no, I'm not going up on stage. I had that guy tell me this guy did not agree.
Yeah.
And where he is, okay? So I won't let him on my stage.
Yeah.
I mean, I started doing that the last couple of years in Las Vegas, because talk about suit city, this one is, you know, it's like I saw people get sued for a lot of money here, you know, hypnotists and other performers too, you know.
Yeah, people are after, you know, rather than working for a living, if you could find a way of suing someone with a lot of money, then that's a lot better than actually putting in the work yourself.
To work Las Vegas, you had to have a $3 million liability with a $1 million umbrella to cover court costs and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so it's, you know, the insurance, I mean, we found Clowns of America was the first one. They would give you really inexpensive insurance if you never had any kind of thing. So I was able to keep it for years and years because I never had any problems. Yeah. But boy, I'll tell you, one of the people that did, and they weren't in Las Vegas, but one of the people that did went from, I think it was, in those days, it was like $168 US dollars for the year if you had no whatever. He got sued. He lost. They had to pay out a claim. He was shot from $168 to $2,300, you know, a year.
Wow.
It wasn't a month, but it was a year.
Wow. Craziness. But yeah, I mean, here in the UK, to perform under the 52 Act, we have to have a minimum of 2 million now. I think it is insurance.
Yeah.
But it's the way of the world.
It was great.
To give a tip to hypnotists coming through now, whether it be about being a better performer, a golden nugget that you picked up over the years that you don't think many people are sharing that type of information, what would that tip be?
Mentoring. Find a hypnotist who will help you. You know, the nice part about Justin and I, first of all, when each of us had a showroom, we would let people who took the classes do a show.
Yeah.
Okay. But not only that, we were there for them through any questions that they had. They could come and take the class again for free. If, you know, once they paid once, they come and take the class for free a second time. You know, because I don't know about you, but I don't absorb 100% of everything that I learn on the first time.
Yeah.
Take the computer. When you got on a computer your first time, did you know what the fuck you were doing? No. It was trial and error, you know, and learning and reading books and reading the help manuals and all that stuff. Well, it's the same thing with anything else.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, where to break it in, obviously schools, high schools are the easiest place to break it in, you know, because they pay okay, and it gives you easy subjects, which give you confidence. It's a confidence builder. And if you film the show, you can see, not so much because kids are going to come up. I don't care. You know, you almost have to go like this to keep them getting stampeded on. But what you can see is if you videotape the show, you can say, why did I do that there?
Yeah.
Why should I be I should maybe make it more bigger. Stage presence is something that Justin and I teach that I don't see a lot of people teaching. Where do you go on stage? How do you get the audience involved? These are all things in my book, by the way.
Yeah.
How do you get the audience involved? How do you create a rapport with not just your subjects, but the people off stage too?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like they love it when you engage with them.
Yeah.
Every comic will tell you this. I mean, if a comic does not engage with the audience, people love to get picked on. They love those front row seats. Pick on me, please.
Yeah.
You know. So some of the bits I write, those people get picked on in the front row.
One of the things I learned from Justin and from kind of the northern comedy circuit, the whole working men's clubs humor up here, is you've got to make an example of those people that are sat at the front that are talking to themselves. And paying attention to the show. Yeah,
you have to have some lines to. How do you say? Yeah, go. Big mouth, little dick.
Brilliant, Richard. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Finally, we got there in the end.
I think we got it. When I come out with my book, we'll review it with you. Okay, I'll send you a copy a couple of weeks in advance, signed, of course, and we can review it. All right, and then I know that we won't have this problem because we figured it out.
Figured it out, exactly. Richard, happy birthday for tomorrow. Guys, if you're watching this on the replay, please put hashtag happy birthday to Richard in there as well. Thank you for your service as well in the Air Force. It's amazing the stuff that you have learned and shared with the community over the years. And thank you very much for being part of Grant Talks Funny Bits as well.
Listen,
I should let you get on with
I've heard, I want to tell you, I've heard nothing but nice things about you.
Oh,
it's why I agreed to come on, by the way.
Oh, well.
Even Justin thinks you're a good guy. I don't know why.
Fantastic.
All right, my friends. Thank you all for tuning in or looking later on. I appreciate it. I'm on Facebook. I'm on, I don't know, I'm everywhere.
Facebook,
but I love
YouTube.
But I am basically, I spend my time, if you want to contact me, Facebook is the best place to contact me.
Brilliant. I'll make sure there's a link put in the description as well on this. Richard, happy birthday for tomorrow. And guys, thank you very much for taking the time to share with us as well. And I shall see you next week.
Thanks, Grant.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.